Welcome to the Shellonomics Podcast, your source for pure Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles entertainment, presented by King Midas.
Joined by Josh, who is a huge turtle toy collector, and what's hyped about this is going to be our gift to anybody who is a fan of the vintage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toy collection. We've been collecting for well over a decade. Josh has a lot more knowledge than most collectors out there. So what Josh wants to do is he wants to help you explain every turtle toy from the vintage toy line from 1988 to 1997. We're going to talk toys, vehicles, accessories, where to buy, how to buy, but it all starts with the beginning. So Josh, what was your first Ninja Turtle toy you had in your collection?
My first Ninja Turtle toy was not this one, but a 1988 hardhead Michelangelo. That was the first Ninja Turtle I ever got. Still my favorite turtle to this day.
It's good to know. Miking it up, back at you, brother. So let's start here with the original line. So you're going to pretty much just walk us through, because a lot of viewers do not know this, in my opinion, that yes, we've had, reprints in the last 5 or 10 years, but there were also a lot of variants from the original set. Can you start us where it all began with those little squishy-wishy soft heads?
Absolutely. So everybody knows that there was 10 original figures, and the 10 original figures is why we call the original cards 10 backs. They're called 10 backs because there's 10 figures on the back. I know that can be a little confusing sometimes if you're reading it and you don't know what you're talking about. So when somebody says 10 back, that's exactly what they're referring to. The original toys on the original cards had 10 figures on the back. And then you'll also hear, 14 back, 20 back, 44 back, 92 back, and so on. But 10 back is the original 10 figures that were released in 1988. So, pretty widely accepted that soft heads were the first ones. What a lot of people don't know is that there's not just hard heads and soft heads. There's actually different versions of soft heads. Just like there was 4 different versions of the 88 April, there's 3 different versions minimum, depending on how deep down the rabbit hole you like to go, of each turtle. So just what I'm going to put you guys in on is just the basics to start us off, and we'll dig a little deeper as we go. But the first thing, soft head, is exactly what it implies. The head is able to be squeezed right there, but not all soft heads are created equal. Some soft heads are very, very squishy. I always find Wrath seems to be squishier than most other turtles. But I've also found that made in Macau soft heads are generally squishier than made in China soft heads. Or maybe I have that reversed. Made in China is squishier than made in Macau. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but one of them always tends to be squishier. But I've also had hard heads that are as hard as a rock. So let's talk about other ways to differentiate. So when you're talking about a hard head was injection molded. So there's a seam on the plastic that runs right down the side of the head. So if you're looking at a hard head, you can see right where that seam was. So because the rubber head is molded, and then I don't even know if they'd call it a blow mold process or what, but it's molded as one piece and everything came off at the bottom. So there's no seam on the side of the head there. That is a telltale sign in the package, whether they're a soft head or a hard head. The other everybody knows feature on how to tell whether it's a hard head or a soft head is the fan club flyer. In the package, everybody knows that a fan club flyer with a turtle always means a soft head turtle. But what a lot of people don't know is that every single one of the original 10, except the foot soldier, has been known to have been packaged with a fan club flyer. So that just is another one of those deeper rabbit hole moments where not just the turtles came with the fan club flyer, but any turtle you see with a fan club flyer is definitely a soft head. Doesn't have to have the fan club flyer, But if it has a fan club flyer, it is a soft head.
So, Josh, for those listening for the first time, can you explain to those viewers 2 quick questions for you? One, how much value differential is it between a soft head and a hard head? Because a lot of newbies to the collecting world really think soft heads are like the cat's pajamas, so to speak, in value.
Okay.
And also, why did they get rid of the soft heads for those who are just brand new to the vintage?
Okay. So that kind of goes more into the production process that I'm super familiar with, but I do know the typically given reason for the original run being soft head. And I just want to make one more statement before I forget about it. Out of the original 10, only 8 of them were actually made with soft heads. April and the Foot Soldier are going to be a hard head no matter what. There are some shady sellers out there in the past who have claimed soft head Foot Soldier and soft head April. That's just a scam. None of those exist. So also, as I said, the Foot Soldier's never been found with a fan club flyer. The only ones that have ever been found are also scams. So just some fun facts for people to know. Also, that's probably one of the most faked Ninja Turtle figures is the non-turtle fan club flyer. And that's where they just take a fan club flyer and try to stuff it in the package. And it doesn't go to the right spot. It has to be in a very specific spot and on a very specific card back to be legit there. So what else were we talking about? I'm sorry, where were you?
I guess actually 2 things.
Price difference in hard head and soft head. So a hard head figure, you can go to eBay, Facebook Marketplace, any flea market or antique store in probably just about all of America, most of Canada and most of Mexico. So anywhere in North America, and you can find a hard head 88 turtle, and it should cost you anywhere from $3 to $5. Just plain Jane, just like you see it right here. If you pay more than that for that hard head turtle, you probably overpaid by a bit. Now, a soft head turtle is a little different. For a soft head, bare bones like you see this one, I mean, I'd be comfortable anywhere in the $7 to $10 range, depending on how nice it was. So with a soft head turtle, you're always going to want to look at this front shell here. The front shell, it marred pretty easily on the soft heads, so there'll be marks and stuff on it. The cleaner you can get that, obviously, the higher end of the price range you're going to get. But then if you talk about complete, you could buy any soft head turtle out there complete for less than $40. I would typically say about $30, but I tend to get pretty good deals because I've been around this a long time. So I would say for the regular person, anywhere from $30 to $40 for a complete soft head turtle is fine. You're talking a little less for Splinter, Shredder, Bebop, and Rocksteady. I think they tend to fall more in the 25 to 35 range. And then Foot Soldiers always take the cake. You're going to pay $40 for a complete Foot Soldier. You're going to pay $20 for a butt naked, just with his arm guards Foot Soldier. It's just, you're going to have to shell out a $20 bill for them. That's just what they sell for.
People love to army build those. And I guess another question for you is, where do you find the checklist? Because again, and a little bit, can you also dive in a little bit more about the fan club? Because again, there's newer viewers out here. And real quick, guys, this is being recorded March 2nd, 2025. So maybe one day in the Mediaverse, those turtles that we just talked about may go for a lot more. But again, this is our gift to you guys where we're like, you shouldn't really be paying that much money for a bare bone, as you call it, Leonardo, with no belt, no katanas, no throwing stars. So can you give us a little info on the fan club, how you can spot that? And also, you just talked about too, Josh, which actually I didn't know. On the back, you can see on the back of their shell, it'll say made in China. And what was the other company?
So it'll either say made in China or made in Macau.
Okay.
Macau, I believe, is just like a city or state in China. So they're both basically saying made in China, but it's different factories that are at play there. It's generally accepted that Macau's were the first soft heads, but Macau's and China's were also made at the same time. So I don't know like saying one's first might be saying, which came first, the chicken or the egg.
Okay.
Does it really matter? You
And
got
does value matter? That was my next question. Is does it matter where on the back of value? Is there any difference there for?
so Macaws are generally a little more sought after to the right collector. So to a new collector, he's just going to say, "Give me a soft head, extra squishy if you can." But
exactly.
when you get more in depth into it, if you're searching for a very specific figure, there's always a premium you're going to have to pay to find that exact one you're looking for. But if you're just willing to take any old soft head, the market's pretty open, And these were also super mass produced. We're both kids of the 80s and the 90s. We know everybody for their 5th birthday when we were kids got Ninja Turtles, buddy. That Christmas, that birthday, that Easter, it was Ninja Turtle City. We got Ninja Turtle everything. As everybody that's seen my collection, we got bath soaps, we got clocks, we candy, gum, trading cards. Ninja Turtle fever.
It was a merchandising feast, like he says in those DVD extras. So another question I have for you, Josh, is some viewers, might want to go for all of them, and some might just say, you know what? I don't really care about the throwing stars. I don't really care about these. I always call them candy canes. These little weapons that came with Leonardo.
Commas.
Commas, right? How much would you be willing to spend if you were just looking for a Raphael with just his 2 sides? How much would that cost?
So, as a guy that's purchased many a size,
okay,
I've got more than a couple. You're generally going to pay, and it seems unfeasible to me, but you're generally going to pay $5 or $6 on eBay for a side. Okay. That seems crazy. In the Facebook groups, it tends to be a little cheaper, but they are the main weapons tend to pay, you're going to pay a little bit of premium, maybe $3 a piece. But for the more common weapons, the commas, you shouldn't be paying more than 50 cents for these. Maybe even less. The fist daggers, same way. I've got like 50 of these in my collection. So 25 cents to 50 cents for these. But if you're talking a sword or a nunchuck, the nunchucks break pretty easy. And you know that. You're a collector.
Yes.
So the nunchucks tend to fetch the highest. I've seen people pay up to $10 for a nice nunchuck.
Just one nunchuck, not even a set. Wow.
But you also have to look at what you're looking for because there's different ADA nunchucks. So there's the hardhead nunchuck that has the little bit thicker rope on it.
Okay.
And then you go back and you've got the earlier 88 soft head that has that nice thin rope on it. Let me try to get both of them in front of the camera so you can see the difference because there is a big difference. I don't know if you can see the size difference there.
I can see it a little smidge. And again, guys, at the end of this video, you're going to want to stick around because we're going to give you a super tip on how to clean your turtles. And we're going to give Josh's groups away, too, that he uses to help you guys out down the road some more. Josh, while you're walking away, too, real quick, can you explain how we can find the fan club like you're talking about? And also, a lot of fans have heard this term just because of if they're new. There's a difference between a regular chuck and a beaded chuck. Since we're on a fellow Chucker talk, can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So I have this here. It's not actually graded. I just have it archived. So these are beaded chucks.
Okay.
And if you see them right in front of the camera, it might be hard to focus.
Sure.
But they actually look like a chain. They look like tiny little balls connected together. Okay. So Mikey's original chucks were made like that, and they're called beaded chucks. Those came with fan club flyers, the early ones. It could be behind the figure or behind the weapons rack. That doesn't matter. But from what I've seen, and I'm not going to say it's 100% true, but I put about 98%. I can never verify anything 100% with Ninja Turtles because the information is not out there. I wasn't alive when they were making them. I mean, I was, but I wasn't at the Playmates factory. But it appears that for a beaded chuck, a made in China soft head Mikey is the correct figure. You're never going to see a beaded Chuck with any other figure in the package, if you know what I mean. So if you're trying to match them up loose and you have beaded Chucks, you want a made in China soft head Mikey to go with them. That's more like I was telling you with the down the rabbit hole stuff. If you want to go real deep.
Yeah.
So fan club flyers. So the original four brothers, and this is a graded example. This is a Don.
Okay.
Behind the weapons rack here, you can see that there's a little piece of paper, and that's called a fan club flyer. And let me hold that up for you.
Yeah, thank you for showing us this, Josh, because this is, to me, this is important stuff here. If you're looking for value and how you can find these on eBay and whatnot. Okay, I see it there.
So
perfect.
There was a folded version and an unfolded version, and they were either found behind the weapons rack on the card, or they were found behind the figure on the card. Between the figure and the figure bubble, you know what I'm talking about? There's the outer bubble and the inner bubble.
Yes.
So, and that's why it's so hard to actually fake them, because you can get a fan club flyer in there, but you can't get it to the right spot for it to be legit. You can only get it by sealing it in the package that way. So, yeah, that's where you get the most part. And what was I just going for? Dang, I don't know. I had something on the tip of my tongue I was going to share with you there, but I lost it.
That's right. We could talk about another accessory or two, because we talked about the weapons. How about your belt buckles? How much do your belt buckles go for?
So, you know, I keep plenty of vintage belts on hand because I go through a lot of turtles, and it really depends on which turtle you're talking about, because Mikey belts are almost never broken. If you get a vintage Mikey with the belt on, it's almost always going to be good. The only thing you have to worry about on a Mikey belt is how nice is my yellow M? You know what I mean?
Yes.
Is it all beat up and worn off, or do I have a nice one? That's the belt otherwise stays intact. But if you're talking about a Donatello belt, the back strap is always broken on a Donatello belt, where it holds its bow. Because people put the bow in there and then twisted it, and it snapped it. It wasn't very thick.
Oof.
So, you know, if you, I would think $3 to $5 a belt.
3 to 5 a belt is okay.
But if you're talking a Don belt and not broken, I mean, you're probably going to have to pay a premium for that, because they're much more difficult to come by. Raph is similar, not quite the same, but because of how his size went in, the top break off of his side holders. So,
really? Okay.
Yeah. So he's probably more in the middle of that too, in the $4 range. Like I said, Mikey being the cheapest belt there, and then Don being the most expensive.
Okay.
Leo's, even though seem more fragile, they kind of hold up. Like I said, Dons are always broken. Probably 1 out of every 20 Dons I get has an unbroken belt.
Wow.
Whereas, like I said, you get a Mikey with a belt, it's always going to be unbroken. I've only seen a couple that are broken. So,
now this is what I want to bring up
once again, it all depends on what exactly you're looking for, and you just have to expect prices to vary just a bit. Because when you talk belts, you're still talking splinter and shredder belts, which are basically the exact same belt. If you were to look at them from a distance, they're the exact same belt. But Shredders is a tiny little hula hoop, and Splinters is a fat little hula hoop.
That's another thing that people, I don't even think I knew that, Josh, to be honest with you.
Well, Shredder has a little bit of an eating disorder in 1988. If you look at your Shredder figure, he's a little bit skinny. And if you look at your Splinter figure, he kind of has a Santa Claus belly going on. He's got some middle-aged years ahead of him, you know? So the belts are the exact same belt, just different sizes.
Wow, I didn't know that. All right, so we got our turtle talk here. We'll bring this into, since we're on the turtles, because again, this is for collectors who are trying to, either collect, and also if you're trying to make a little money. Because Josh, I want to see if you agree with me, because again, I'm more intermediate to advanced. I'm not as knowledgeable as you, and I'm thankful you're taking out time out of your busy weekend to talk to us. But a good way to go, I feel sometimes, is to buy those lots. Like, you'll see lots of accessories. Now, with the knowledge you just gave us, where belts can go for $3 to $5, your size can go for a couple bucks. You'll see those lots on eBay, shopgoodwill.com. So do you ever still buy accessory lots today? Like, do you kind of like, have a budget in your head when you're looking for those?
Yes, absolutely. As I talked to you a little bit before the show here, I do probably 98% of my buying and selling on eBay. So that's my main market, but I will buy lots on there. And my main rule when I'm buying a large lot, and it doesn't work so much these days, but my rule always used to be pay $1 an accessory. You're never going to go wrong if you pay $1 an accessory. You know what I mean? As long as it's got a couple decent ones in there that you can make $5 or $6 on, you're going to be okay. You know what I mean? Right. But that was always my rule. And then when I'm buying lots of figures, I've always had the rule, if it averages out to $5 a figure and I get 10 figures, I'm probably going to do okay paying $50. You know what I mean?
Yeah, those are good tips.
It really, but once again, it really depends on how long you have to sell them. People looking for a quick buck, this ain't for you.
Right. Slow and steady is going to win the race. And that's
absolutely.
What we'll talk about that in other episodes, guys. Not tonight about budgeting, but that's something we'll definitely get into down the road. Absolutely. That's another thing I want to cover. So we've got most of the turtles, but you also were very knowledgeable. And on your Facebook post, when you get these variants, like you said, I'm saying variants, but I kind of mean like reprints.
Variants is a good enough. That's how I would describe it, Mike. Okay. You're good there.
Okay, so you have your turtles, like you said. Now, Raphael and these guys have been made from the 88 to 97 era. I believe you said 4 or 5 times. Is that correct?
Okay, so in 88, every one of them was made 4 times. Just in 88. So you have all 3 hard heads, or all 3 soft heads, and then the hard head was all made in 88. But the hard heads, the same molds, and I'm almost positive of this, were reused in 89, 90, 94, or 92, 94, 95, 97, and possibly very similar molds were used on all the ones they reissued again. So the hard heads, it becomes very difficult to tell whether a hard head came from 88 or 89, or we just call them 88s because that's when the mold originated. And for a hard head, like I said, I'm sure there's some way to track down mold trajectory or mold output and see exactly what year or what factory it came from. But Playmates kept such abysmal records that it would take somebody that's even more nerdy about Ninja Turtles than me to figure that information about. So hard heads, no matter when they were made, if they're loose, we pretty much just call them 88s. You could try to argue sticks and stones or whatever you want to argue, but I just feel like it's a losing battle if we try to argue that situation. It's the same with Foot Soldiers were reissued again in 94, 97 on the purple card back and the Toon card back. But, I mean, they all look the same. Now, Foot Soldiers, just like the Softhead Brothers, even though they were never given a soft head, there are 3 different versions of the 88 Foot Soldier.
Oh, wow. So we're diving into that. I'm going to ask you one other quick question.
Oh, go ahead.
Just a real quick one. So when you mention these reprints, because I think I just want to make sure I don't leave this one out because I may slip my mind. So when you're talking reprints, when you look on the back of the figure, does it have a different year or do they still all say 88 on there? I figure that's a good question.
All the way up till 97, they're going to say 88 on it.
They still will. Okay, cool. Okay. That's good to know.
So that's all the way through 97. What's considered the vintage line, they kept them same molds and they didn't change anything. Now, when they did that first re-release, it was at 2002 or 2003, I want to say.
Yeah, we were on there.
Maybe it was 2003, the 25. Yeah,
I got those from KB.
Or whatever. I don't remember. Those ones have a different date on them, and everyone after that has a different date on it.
Okay.
And then, like, the newest ones, they went back to soft heads. If you saw that, the newest release, 88 Ninja Turtle, whatever, that Nickelodeon release, they're all soft heads again. So it's kind of cool that they went back to the original mold and revisited that.
And the reason they got rid of the soft is it true that they were? I don't think we talked about.
Oh, we
they
didn't
were
get
a
to that.
choking hazard.
That's
Is
where
that was it? Is it true that they were a choking hazard back in the day?
I never heard that they were a choking hazard,
legend.
but
Okay.
He-Man kind of went through this same process. There's
Okay.
soft head and hard head He-Man figures as well. If as anybody who kind of collects toys knows, from what I've heard, it's cheaper to make the soft head figure. So before they knew the show was going to be big, because these toys in the show were released at the same time, basically. The show got just a bit of a head start. And then that Christmas, you know what I mean? It was, hey, we're going to need to sell these toys. So you're going to, and that was kind of part of the deal. Can we make the show and the toys happen? So you make them as cheap as possible the first year or the first run, i.e. the soft head. It's less material. You know what I mean? So, and once they figured out, yeah, we're going to make it, we're doing fine, because Ninja Turtles took off pretty quick. That's when they switched to the hard heads. That's the story I've always heard from the older collectors when I started. So I'd have to assume something like that's correct.
All right. Now let's go into the next character. This video, guys, is just going to focus on the original 10, as Josh called it. So let's talk about their Sensei Splinter. So, hardhead, softhead. Let's talk accessories, because now his crossbow, does that go for a decent buck? His crossbows, his sticks, and his
let me pull my case out here so I can show you
a little bit about Splinter here tonight, guys.
Okay, so Splinter is going to come with, the Turtles all came with the same accessories. The good guys and Shredder all came with a comma, 2 throwing stars, a big fist dagger, a little fist dagger, and then their main weapon. Splinter came with his cane sword thing, that he always had in the show. And he also came with a cool bow and arrow. What a lot of people don't know is that there's some early known variants of Splinter that actually did not come with the staff. It came with a sword, just like Shredder. And I believe there's one in the package example known to exist of that still. So early marketing, they put him with the sword and then switched him over to this staff. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about both of them. The things you got to look for on his little sheath cane thing is, what I like to look at is, do they fit together well? Because if you find ones that were molded at different times or molded in different things, they don't quite go together all the way, as you can see with this one. So it kind of doesn't meet up right. If I went through the other sleeves in my case, I'd probably find one that met up better. That just shows me that it was probably in the package together originally. Like, that's probably an original collection piece if they slide together real nice like that. So I kind of look for stuff like that when I'm looking at Turtles. But the bow, the arrow is always broken off this damn thing. Kids were rough to this.
Yes.
So if you find a nice one, once again, this one's going to be in that $3 to $6, even $6 range.
Wow.
But it's all going to worry about what one you're looking for, because there's, just like there's different versions of the Turtles, there's different versions of all the weapons. There's translucent weapons and non-translucent weapons and such, and then certain ones go with certain figures. So really hard to put a price on stuff, but the cane and sword, like I said, I definitely say $2 or $3 there.
Okay.
But you want to watch for any kind of cracks in the sheath, because there is a mold seam right there in the middle, and they do tend to crack there. And then, like I said, fitting together nicely just makes your figure look that much better up on the shelf. Just a personal thing there, but that's kind of what I go for. And then with his bow and arrow, these are always broken, chewed on, anything like that. So finding a nice one can be a little bit difficult. Even this one, I can see just a little bit of chew marks right up on here on the tip of the arrow from some kid.
Wow, let's see how mine looks here. Like I said, I cut my. This one's actually in decent shape. Okay, I can hang with you on this one, Josh. I'm like you. Guys, I don't know if I said this, but Josh actually in his collecting career has owned every turtle, Hotspot, Scratch. We're going to get to those guys in future videos, but for me too, just it got to having space and storage. Why I got my OGs, but that's a story for another day. Let's talk about April a little bit now, because you said there are a lot of April variants out there. So let's see if we can dive into her for a little while.
So absolutely, with April, there's going to be 4 main variants. These are the variants that everybody talks about, and so your original, the very first April is what's called the no stripes April. So the way you're going to tell all your April variants basically is by looking down the side of the figure.
Okay.
The first April is going to be yellow all the way down the side.
I guess
The
that's what I
second
have.
April figure is what we call blue stripes April.
Oh,
she has
okay.
a blue stripe right down the seam.
Okay.
And then the next April you get to is orange stripes April. She has an orange stripe and a blue stripe going all the way down her seam.
And that still says 1988 on all 3 of those, right?
Oh, absolutely. And then there's 2 variants of the orange stripe.
Okay.
So on the orange stripe, you have the regular orange stripe. And see how it says press there on her chest?
Yes.
Right above the pocket?
Yeah.
On the other one, it's called a no press April. They didn't print that on there in the factory.
A little bit up, Josh, if you can.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
That one's not going to have any information on the chest, and that one says press.
Wow.
That's called a press pass.
Okay.
So that's your press and no press Aprils. But then you can also see that somewhere along the lines, they made what's called the revised head. So you can see on the early April, the no stripe, you see her head. Her hair's kind of got this reddish tint to it.
Yes.
Her face is very dull. I don't know if you've noticed it on your no stripe. There's not much pop to that face. They were really trying to avoid a Barbie-like face.
And it kind of looks like it to a degree. It does a little bit.
If you go to the later April in '88, she's got a lot more noticeable makeup and eyelashes, and her hair is a little more, whatever you would call it.
A lot more flavorful, I guess you could say, compared to the one that we have. Yeah.
Gives her that 1990s pop, that the classic woman needs. Billy Joel's Uptown Girl, if you would say.
Exactly.
So, those all 4 came out in 1988. You could get all of them on a 10-back card. So the biggest thing about everybody wants a no stripe April, but this is one of the toughest figures to get very clean. The yellow plastic they use in this figure is what's very susceptible to what's known as plastic cancer. So what it is it's little, I think they're mildew spots.
I have a perfect example of that then, Josh. I don't know if it's going to pick up, but it's like she's got almost like leopard spots. I don't know if my cam's going to pick it up. Yeah, I've got that exact thing what you're talking about. And I'm like, now, is that able to be cleaned off or no?
That's permanent, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
And if you are into grading figures, just one of those is going to automatically bring you down to an 80.
Really? Just for that?
Absolutely. I'm big into grading, and I accidentally sent one with a cancer spot that I didn't even see. I missed it.
Oh, geez.
And it came back at 80, and I was like, boy, trying to figure it out. And I saw it and was like, whoa, glad I didn't. But that's every 1988 figure is susceptible to that. Mostly the soft heads. So the original runs, the Made in Macau's, they just seem to not. The plastic was cheap. Just like I said, they were trying to be as cost effective as possible. So that's a plastic breakdown that's happening over time, and there's no real way to reverse it.
All right. 2 more things about April, then we'll go into our next figure. Now, I want to say, like, accessory-wise for her, how much her cameras go for. And the other question is one of those figures included with her news motorcycle? Because when I was a kid, I got the motorcycle. And I didn't April. This is for another story when we get to that figure. But do you remember, like, there was like a news?
Oh, well, you're actually thinking of the green suit, April.
Well, that's the news van, but there was like a little like motorcycle that came out. It had like a Channel 6 vehicle on top. The bike would pull out.
Yeah. This one came with the news van.
Yep, that's news van. April.
No April came with the news cycle. It was we just sold as a vehicle. Like
they just had a picture of her in it. Okay.
Yeah, it had a picture of her on it, but she was never included in that.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
That's fine. But so April does come with some weird accessories. So she has a camera
Okay, that I have. Yeah.
and a gun.
What in the world? It's almost
And
like the
the-
retro mutagen gun there from the original 5 episodes.
And
Wow.
the gun goes into the camera, and that's the handle for the camera.
Oh wow! I
So
never
you
even.
put them together, and then she's got a microphone, which really just looks like a little piece of plastic, and that was almost always lost. And then she comes with a ninja star like everybody else, but of course hers is gray like the rest of her weapons. If I could get one out of my case here. So that's a gray April star. What you have to be concerned with here is the movie star Ninja Turtle, the original release, also came with a silver star, but it's much more silver, and this one's much more gray. So
wow.
if you see them side by side, it's easy to tell the difference. But if you're just buying them loose, it's very easy to mix them up.
Okay.
But so yeah, we have the gun, the camera, the throwing star, and then the briefcase. And this was wasted on me as a kid. I never saw it. But if you open up her briefcase, there's kind of like a little workstation in there. There's like little things, and then like her little camcorder or her microphone will fit inside that briefcase, and then you can put it in there and close it up, and she can carry it around with her. I thought that was kind of neat, and also, so this gun camcorder setup was reused in the Toon Vernon figure. They did it in the yellow, but it's the exact same mold as the '88 April. So that's kind of neat as well.
Yeah. How about price wise, Josh? On those accessories, what do you think they went
Price-wise, the most expensive thing is probably going to be the gun or the microphone, as they're just so small that they're just missing a lot. Camcorder, you're going to be in the $2 or $3 range. Briefcase, probably the same. Throwing star, you might add $1 to that. Go to the $3 range. The camcorder and the gun, I wouldn't be surprised if you're paying $4 or $5 a piece for them, but like I said, they're very small. Like, yeah, you really kind of got to hold one to appreciate how easily sucked up into the vacuum these things were.
Yeah, exactly.
I know a lot of people complain about price, but when you've been doing this as long as me, you just come to the realization that the price is what the price is. If you can list 100 of them on eBay for that price and they all sell in a week, then that's a pretty good price. So. So a lot of people will tend to think I saw it on eBay for $300. Just you got to make sure you're looking at what they've actually sold for, and then be reasonable from there. If you're reasonable from there, all these things they sell like hotcakes if you sell them for good prices. You know what I mean? It's the people that try to get $10 a piece for an accessory. That it just sits there and like, oh, these things don't sell. Like, oh,
exactly.
They sell.
That's going to be a whole nother episode because that's exactly what we'll talk about shilling and stuff like that in another episode for sure. Let's talk about these two boys here, Bebop and Rocksteady. I want you to give a little education on the Pink Ranger face of Bebop because Bebop can have a different color. Let's talk about Bebop and Rocksteady here for a little bit. We'll go with Bebop.
Okay, so I got Bebop in my hands first, and the first thing I don't know why, but it seems to be when people are collecting 10 backs, the first thing they always run to is like the main variant is always pink face Bebop. Like I see a lot of collectors get hung up on this guy at the very beginning. And he's very cool. And this one's actually from my personal collection, so he's very nice. You can see his face. There's not a single scrape on him.
Well, it looks like a Muppet face. It looks really good that one.
I took a long time to find one like this, but when you're talking about a pink face, people make such a big deal about this. But compared to every other face, it's not really that different. Like, yeah, it's pinker. I get it. Like, it's more pink, but wouldn't you call that pink?
Yeah, to a degree, yes.
Well, now when you get into the hard head, yeah, he gets brown. But even in like the later release soft heads, there's a little bit of pink up there. So like, I just want to let everybody know, like, yeah, it's a cool figure. It's definitely worth just a little bit more than a regular soft head Bebop. But it's not something to really get hung up on because I just want, like I said with the '88 figures, these were very mass produced figures. Like even though they're the original run and they're what people really like, there's nothing really loot-wise. There's nothing really super valuable here. It's just really cool to collect. It's very highly collectible. It's just not going to be like winning the lottery with an 88 figure. And I feel like a lot of new collectors kind of get hung up where they think something's more valuable than it really is.
And that's the reason why we're doing this video again, guys, is just because we see it at Comic-Cons all the time. We see it at flea markets. We see it at yard sales. And we just walk and it's like $12. Like, I got to keep my poker face sometimes when I'm walking by these sales where it's like, how dare you put that up for that much? To each their own price. I get it. But, just or
as I said, I'm
was,
from the country, so I kind of always want to say something to them, and then I have to bite my tongue. You know what I mean? I like want to open up my phone to eBay sold listings and just show them. Like, here, this is how you should be doing this.
Yeah, if you actually want to sell this thing, or you'll even see on eBay. There was one I posted in one of the turtle groups. There was like a movie star Leo. It was like a giant one, and on the auction site it says estimated.
Oh yeah, estimate between $3,000 and $5,000.
Yeah, and I did I'm like insert the Dr. Evil like $100 billion.
I'll tell you what, if he gets the minimum on that of $3,000, I will find him 20 more. I'll probably have them for him by the end of the week.
Yeah. So again, with Bebop and Rocksteady here, just your accessories again, they're going to be in that same. So that sweet spot for these comics.
Yeah, you're really gonna be for the main accessories. I always say main. Bebop and Rocksteady, all their accessories are main accessories because they didn't come with a lot like the Turtles. So with Bebop, you got the knife, the shield, and the drill gun, and with Rocksteady, you got the rifle, the shield, and the knife. So, I got all these sorted into different men, so I'm trying to. Rocksteady here. Here's an original Rocksteady weapons rack. He got his laser rifle here, his Bowie knife, and then the city sewer shield with the handle on the back. That piece of tape on there, it looks like just a janky piece of tape, but that's how they came in the package on the original ones. I opened that one myself, so let's see here. And then Bebop had a different knife. And here's something that I'll bring up again. Bebop's knife is this cool little knife. Kind of got funky handles. And then Rocksteady and the Foot Soldier had more of a Bowie knife or Bowie knife, depending on where you're from. But it's always going to tell you that a Foot Soldier came with this knife if you look on the back of their file card. But they don't. They come with the same one as Rocksteady. I never understood that. Let me see if I got a Foot Soldier card here in front of me to show you that. I might not, but I may. No, of course I got everything, but anyway, on the 1990 card back for the Foot Soldier, they always show him with the Bebop knife, and he actually comes with the Rocksteady knife. It's also led to some confusion online because people look at that picture and say, "Oh, my Foot Soldier's supposed to come with that knife," when he really doesn't. So anyway, Bebop and Rocksteady, yeah. Once again, same thing as the brothers. They're going to be made in Macau, made in China, or no COO soft heads, and they're going to have a hard head version. With Bebop and Rocksteady, what I've always found really noticeable between the hard head and the soft head, just easily to tell in a lot, is this one right here is a hard head. His head really meets his neck in a real nice way. Like the mold line is very nice. But whenever you look at a soft head, you see I can see daylight in between there. You can see my face through it. A soft head always has that gap between the head and the rest of the body. So like if you're looking at a big spread out lot on eBay or something, you can usually look at a Rocksteady and pretty easily say, yeah, that's definitely a soft head. Whereas on a Bebop, it may be harder to tell just from a distant picture. But same thing as the four brothers, we're going to have that mold seam in our hard heads. Only on Bebop and Rocksteady, it's going to run front to back. So right down the middle this way, there's going to be that seam that you can see all the way along the head. on both Bebop and Rocksteady. And that's where they split the mold in half to get that head out. On the soft head, you're just not going to see it because it's all one piece. So that's another way. Like I said, Bebop and Rocksteady, because they didn't come with fan club flyers, except for very rarely, like we mentioned earlier, in the package, it can be very hard to tell a soft head from a hard head. So those are nice little tricks to use to see that difference.
Let's go to Shredhead. Anything you want to talk about Shredhead here?
Shredder, he's just going to be like the brothers. You're going to have your soft head Macau, soft head China, and then No Seal, and then obviously hard head Giant Krang down, but that's all right.
Yep.
So Shredder has a softer head than any of the other figures. If you get a really soft one, like he's always got a really squishy head. And you'll see a lot of Shredders out there in the wild missing their head. I don't know why everybody pulled Shredder's head off, but the other thing about Shredder that makes him a little bit more of a different figure from the 88s is he has all these armor pieces that you gotta make sure are looking nice and intact on a figure. Because whereas, I don't mind paying $10 for a soft head Shredder. If I'm gonna pay $10 for him, he better have nice armor and be a nice figure. You don't want to be finding one where all of his armor is busted off or something like that. And then also Shredder's cape. This cape might be the most expensive part of an 88 Shredder. Same with Splinter. The capes are $10 all day. They're gonna sell for that, and you're still gonna have to pay shipping after that $10.
So his capes go for $10. How this little piece right here, in good shape, obviously. Okay, gotcha.
So no matter what people try, because there's been plenty of them out there, they try to find this same material of Shredder's cape and Splinter's cape and make new ones. Nobody's ever found anything that's even close. I'm so sorry. They're nowhere near close. I've seen a lot of fakes, and they just look crappy compared to the real one. The real one is a very specific fabric, a very specific color, and they're just cut in a very weird shape. It's almost like a triangle. I don't even know how to say it, but then it's got that little hole in it. And Splinters is the same way. It's the exact same material, just a different color. Not sure where they got that stuff, but it's different from what you can get today.
Oh my God, $10 for the pro. Okay, so again, this is just stuff that I'd like to know. And again, more collectors. When you're looking for those bins and you see accessory lot, you see that cape and the auction says 20-piece accessory lot, and it's only going for $5. And you see this guy, that's gonna even your balance out there.
Like
so
that's 3 years of selling on eBay full time. So they sell, man. You can always sell. 88 accessories sell all day, every day. It's just as long as you're selling them for the right price. You're never gonna get rich, but they will sell. People want to complete these accessories or these figures.
Yeah.
Even me, who's had every figure and accessory, I still keep all the 88s because I love them. They're the ones I grew up with. You know what I mean? These are the ones we all had.
Yeah.
These are the ones that played in sandboxes and playgrounds and all that. The later years ones, they look cool on a shelf, but they're not the turtles from the cartoon or anything. So people tend to flock to these 88s because they have the most nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly. All right, and I guess this guy would kind of be the main event. And if you guys are listening to this, we're going to plug Josh's Facebook group at the end. And I think both of us would like you to just take a photograph. We're going to, when we link this video there, just show us your big foot soldier army. Josh, why do so many people want to army build these guys? There are tons and tons. I had a good friend of mine, his name's Rodolfo. We used to make trades all the time. Anytime I'd find a foot soldier or an auction, I'd say, buddy, here you go. I mean, just these dudes are awesome. I never had one as a kid, unfortunately. I'd used Fujitoid as my foot soldier. I didn't have a foot soldier growing up. It took me a long time to find one. And another thing I want to bring up is when you start talking about the foot, also bring up the pads too, like his armor, because I know that does add value too. So thank you.
So your 88 foot soldiers, like I said earlier, they're only going to come in a hard head. There's no soft head foot soldiers. But just like the soft heads, for whatever reason, we got those 3 different COOs, the made in Macau, made in China, and no COO. That's just looking right here on his back. But there's no difference besides that. Other than if you have a Macau one, you might be able to argue I have the first run of Foot Soldier. But other than that little print on his back, there's no difference in these Foot Soldiers. None at all. Foot Soldier, I would say, is number 2 at being susceptible to that plastic cancer we talked about.
Okay.
Gray areas on his arms, I tend to see they almost get an orange-looking spot on them. It's not quite as brown and moldy looking as on April. You almost get like a weird spot.
Yeah, I see some of mine. It's like almost like a pit stain, like you didn't put deodorant on or something. Okay, I got it.
You see it every if you got 5 Foot Soldiers in your hand, one of them's gonna happen. Like I said, just especially the made in Macau. It's just plastic degradation, man. There's nothing we can do about it. Try to keep them in a nice even temperature is the best thing you can do for them. But like I said, Foot Soldiers, everybody's number 1. Why do we army them? Well, number 1, we're 80s kids and we're hoarders. Our grandparents were hoarders.
Yeah.
Every one of us grew up with all that stuff in the basement that nobody would ever get rid of. We like doing stuff like that. That's my number 1 thing. You see it with almost every toy line in the vintage world. There's some figure out there that everybody wants to army build. Generally, it's because there was an army of them in the show. The Foot Soldiers were robotic in the show, so Krang had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them at his disposal. So he could just keep bringing them in. And what was nice about having the soldiers as robots is even in the cartoon, the Ninja Turtles could kill as many as they wanted, and they never got deemed for being too violent because they weren't killing people. They were just cutting up the robots. And that's a big reason why when you see them fighting the Foot Soldiers in the cartoons, anytime they cut one up, you always see all the electronics and stuff fly out because they make a big point of showing that, oh, we're very not dangerous. We're only destroying the robots. But Foot Soldiers, everybody wants more than one Foot Soldier because they're awesome. So Foot Soldiers, and this is a fact of life. If you have a Foot Soldier that has his arm pads, this is a $20 bill. They all sell for $20.
$20 loose, not even with weapons. Wow.
I mean, they just do. I mean, we can call it 15 to 20. I'm sure everybody out there has got a Ninja Turtle buddy that hooks them up with the $15 Foot Soldier.
Yeah.
But if you're buying them on eBay and you find them for just 20 flat bucks, you'll probably, if you had them, you'd sell as many as you could sell and people would buy. You know what I mean? That's the deal you're looking for. So, but that's with his arm pads.
Okay.
If they don't have their arm pads, then you're talking the 12 to 15 range. Okay. But that's pretty much the only thing you can break on the figure. But for weapons, the Foot Soldiers have one very specifically known weapon for breaking. And that's called the shock stick. And it's a little ball on a stick. Now, just like Mikey's Chucks, how I showed you before, there's a couple different versions of this. You can see this one's very, very thick. This one's not quite as thick. And then we have the Shell Biter, which is this little staff shock stick thing.
Yep.
And then he comes with, like I said, the exact same Bowie knife as Rocksteady. Foot Soldier weapons. I mean, probably.
I'd say they're pretty. They're probably the main event of the.
They're most expensive out of the vintage. You're probably talking $7 to $10 a piece for the Shell Biter.
Wow. Okay.
For this one, you're probably talking maybe $1 more each, maybe even a little more unbroken because these are always broken. The knife, because it came with Rocksteady too, you could probably find these a little cheaper. You know what I mean? That $3-4 range, something like that. But nothing that's going to break the bank. It's just, just like everything else, it's which version of it do you want and how badly do you want it? That's what controls every market. And Ninja Turtles is no exception to that. And just like every other market, we do fluctuate. I've seen figures that I used to buy for $20 and $30 now sell for $300 and $400 and $500, and I've only been collecting 15 years. So it really makes you wonder sometimes which ones 10 years down the road are going to be worth big money and which ones aren't, because it's changed in the last 10 years. Is it going to change again in the next 10 years?
Yeah, that's a good point. Josh, we still got a little bit of time here, but before we get into like a quick little rapid fire, can you please plug in any socials so Turtle fans can find you and these videos, and also your eBay plug too, because you seem to care about a lot of consumers who actually, you're trying to help these guys find their collection.
Absolutely. So I tell people all the time on my eBay page, I have the lowest buy it now prices on Ninja Turtles on all of eBay. I don't have every Ninja, I don't have scratches up there for $600 and have an unlimited number of them. But when I sell something, I sell it for the lowest buy it now price on eBay. So whatever they're selling for, I go a couple bucks cheaper and I list it that way. That eBay page is Melchart's Guide. You can find me there. I generally keep around 200 Ninja Turtle listings at a time. So as they sell, I just add more and we just keep a fresh rotation that way. On Facebook, you can find me at Josh Melchart's Visual Guide to Vintage TMNT, or just Josh Melchart. I'm a regular person, and I take messages from random strangers on Facebook about Ninja Turtles quite often. It's kind of weird, but my family's grown accustomed to it. So I'm, when you have the knowledge I have locked in my brain about Ninja Turtles figures, if you're not helping other Ninja Turtle people with it, I mean, what's the point of having it? You know? So that's what we're here trying to do. And luckily, you invited me to be a part of this little thing here, and we're going to do a lot of beautiful work here, Mikey.
I believe so too, man. We got about maybe another 10 minutes, so I just want to play a little rapid fire as we bring in, episode 1 and for so. I guess I would say articulation and broken turtles. Now, do you ever play operation, or do you stay away from turtles when you see a guy all the time missing an arm, his legs? Like sometimes there's other toys. We'll get into a different episode. Like sometimes these can just pluck off their legs. So I'm curious how you deal with those damaged toys.
Here's what I do. So if a figure has
there you go, perfect
a popped off joint. So this is a popped off joint. I keep these because I actually get broken figures. Now, broken is when the leg joint on the inside is broken or the arm is broke at the shoulder and it can't be repaired. So I will take those figures and pull forearms and stuff off them and try to fix figures. But also what I found is there is a huge market for broken figures. What I started doing, I take all my broken figures and I accumulate them in one big box throughout the year. And then I put them on eBay with a 99-cent starting bid. And the last time I did that, I think it sold for $300. Now, it was over 100 broken figures, which is a lot. But it just goes to show you that even broken Ninja Turtles have some value because there's so many customizers out there that are taking these broken ones and making them into cool figures again.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's kind of neat to see. And then for the Ninja Turtle guy, seeing guys customize figures that we never got to see made, that's kind of a cool thing too.
No, I agree. How about keeping? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Josh.
The biggest problem I have there is like certain figures, the skin tones can be just a little different, and sometimes you put a new forearm on a figure and you're like, that just doesn't look right, and it'll drive you nuts. So that does, there's a little bit of infuriation that can go on there, but it's pretty easy to fix. Just warm water. Warm water over the joint and push the new one in, and it'll go right in like it was Jell-O, man. It's easy peasy.
That's good stuff there. Another quick question for you. Now, I love the remastered Playmates. I've talked about this with another guest I had. I love the Playmaster remasters, but not the reprints. So for those, how do you tell you're not going to get scammed? And I don't mean scammed because there's some groups that me and you are a part of, and we're like, we want nothing to do with these. Now, we're not talking reprints from the 88 to 97 era. We're talking about, these Nickelodeon repops that are just all over the place. So is there an easy way to spot this?
So me personally, I keep my collection vintage, 88 to 97. Okay. I do have an affinity for the NECA Toon line.
Yep, me too, of course.
Aaron Hazuri is an awesome artist, and I love him to death. Big shout out, Aaron. You're a NECA artist. We love you. So I have a rule there that I will buy them, but only if I pick them up in person. So like no ordering online, no mail order off any website, no pre-orders. If I can make it to Target or Walmart and find what I'm looking for, I'm okay to buy it. So I do have a nice little shelf upstairs dedicated to them, but mostly I'm vintage only, and I'm super against anything reproduction.
That's the word I'm looking for. Reproduction. Yes, those
So
are.
like
How do you spot that
these
quickly?
fake scratch accessories and bullshit that are out there,
Yes.
those become huge blemishes on the collecting world. And what I want to say to everybody about that is, so Ninja Turtles started. The toys started in '88. So when we look at toy lines, there's only one toy line we can look to as like a grandfather figure for us, and that's vintage Star Wars. Okay. And vintage Star Wars accessories have been reproduced in the worst ways. They've been reproduced in ways that are meant to scam people. Like they're doing things now that they're trying to scam people into thinking they're real, and that they make money off of them. And it's been a huge detriment to the Star Wars collecting community. So, being that the Ninja Turtles community is a lot younger and reproduction hasn't hit us as hard, I always like to send out a message of just no reproduction anytime, because it saves collecting for the future. The big thing that we all need to know and realize is our collection is not always going to be our collection. One day you will decide to depart with your collection, or you will pass away and somebody else will decide to depart with your collection. And if you have reproduction items in your collection, there's a possibility that they get passed on to somebody else as real. And then somebody gets scammed down the line because even though you weren't meaning to scam somebody,
Right.
you're somebody else didn't know. So my thing is, if there's not a market for them, they won't be made. But because people do buy them, people want the $30 scratch accessories to go with the scratch they don't fucking have. Again, sorry for cussing.
Yep, that's all right.
To go with the scratch they don't have. Like, why do you even need those cheap knockoffs? They look terrible. Like,
Yeah.
if you've ever held, I'm going to walk away from the camera real quick. If you've ever held a real scratch accessory, like,
and Scratch, for those who don't know, he's one of the rarer turtle pieces out there that goes for anywhere in a lot of hundreds. And
that's
probably even more. Wow.
the hard copy of Jailbird, Scratch's sidekick. Okay, I've owned 3 or 4 scratches. They're not as rare as people think they are. Yes, it's a very expensive figure. It's going to cost you well over $1,000 to own one.
Yep, nowadays.
But it's not as rare as people are led to believe. Yes, it was short packed in 1993. Yes, it's harder to get than any of the other 93s. Yes, it's much more difficult to get than many other Ninja Turtles figures. Is it that cool? No. And these fake ones, they're awful. If you hold a real one, and if you show me a picture of a fake one and say it's real, I instantly know it's fake, and I think you look like a fool. And so does every other serious Ninja Turtle collector. They're garbage. They're hot garbage.
I would agree, my man. We've got about 5 minutes left to wrap this one up. So, 2 other things. How about a spot to place checklist? You push this site all the time, and I actually interviewed Dan. Would you say TMNTtoys.com is probably the best site for any beginner or any collector for turtles? Okay, great.
Beginner, medium, advanced, www.tmnttoys is a great reference. Yes, there's a couple mistakes on there. Yes, he doesn't have everything, but he's done such a good job of cataloging Ninja Turtles, and not just vintage. He goes from 97, he does the whole Next Mutation, the whole 2003, the whole Fast Forward, the whole 2012, the whole Rise of the Mutants, the whole Mutant Mayhem, all the NECA stuff. That guy goes into huge detail. He knows more about Ninja Turtles than most of us will ever know about Ninja Turtles. And he gives it to the public for free. Yes, there's a couple ads that are going to pop up, but it's free knowledge. It's free knowledge, man. You got to love it.
To keep all those accessories. And then one last question here is, so this is for guys who are like, oh my God, those turtles look so disgusting at that flea market. They look hideous. Like my Mikey's right here, got a little, almost like a little marker drawn. You may not even see it on the camera. It's like a little smidge. So real quick, is there your secret way of cleaning figures? Because you say you buy in bulk. So what's the best way for beginners to clean without damaging it?
Absolutely. So the first thing I do with every batch of figures I get, the first thing I do is I sort them to, does it have a sticker or anything metal on it, or does it not? Because some Ninja Turtles do have screws and some Ninja Turtles do have stickers. If it has either one of them two things, we cut them out and put them in a separate pile right away. You just clean them meticulously by hand. That sucks. It sucks for everybody. There's no magic secret there.
Right.
But every other figure that's just made out of plastic, you do have to be careful with soft heads because you don't want water getting stuck inside that head because you'll get mold.
Right.
But
Rock steady. Okay, got it.
nice warm water, Dawn dish soap, and a nice soft bristle toothbrush. You just scrub them up, rinse them off. And then if you have stubborn scuffs, which Ninja Turtles come from an era, and I'll probably get some hate for this, but kids used to just do shit like this. Okay?
Uh-huh. Yep.
And if you take a green figure and a gray figure and you do that, the marks change. They come from one figure to the other. But if you just take a magic eraser, a Mr. Clean magic eraser, and you do have to be very careful with this because magic eraser is an abrasive. It's just like sandpaper on a microscopic level. But if you get the figure wet and the magic eraser wet and slowly go over it, and it's almost like you're petting it with your finger, you will take a whole scuff mark off and only the scuff mark off. It's very nice. It will make, and then if you want to really pop, we'll take a hint from the godfather of Ninja Turtle collecting. You hit them puppies with just a little bit of lemon pledge, and they'll shine up on that shelf. It keeps the dust away from them a little bit longer. I don't know why, but Ninja Turtle Plastic loves lemon pledge. Jerry Wisnowski gave me that tip, and he's one of the longest running Ninja Turtle collectors. He started collecting Ninja Turtles in 1988. So
Wow.
safe to say he's had them in his collection longer than any of us.
I would agree. Josh, it's been a pleasure. Our first episode is about to end. I hope you guys enjoy this. Like and subscribe to Shellonomics on YouTube. Check Josh's page out on Facebook. Check out TMNTtoys.com. If you guys have any questions, leave a comment below on Josh's page or mine. We'd love to help you guys out. Josh, we'll see you in the next one, buddy.
Have a good night, sir.